Welcome to Unveiled, the Hampton Police Division podcast where we dive into the world of policing. I am your host, Chief Jimmie Wideman, and today we are joined by Mr. Joel Jones, former gang member, military veteran, and owner of Strong Arms Training Academy. Mr. Jones, I'm very happy to have you here today.
Well, I'm excited to be here, Chief. Thank you for inviting me.
Please, I'll give you the floor, and please tell us about your life's journey.
Well, my life's journey, oh, man, go back. Woo. Like you said, I'm a retired Navy chief. I'm the director of Strong Arms Training Academy. So let's go back to my day. I'm the oldest of 15. My mom had 10 girls and 3 boys. My dad has 2 daughters. So that's 3 boys, so 2 younger brothers for me. So there was definitely a lot of stress for me growing up. Had to grow up early, contribute to the household, and help my mom do those things. 10 girls, man. God, boy, I think about that now.
Not a fight.
12. But there was always a fight. There was never a dull moment in the Jones household, I can tell you that. Growing up, I didn't know my biological father. I was my mom's first at 16. And I was as you call it, summer love, first time thing. And here I am, right? So at some point when we were in Chicago, my mom, she, young mother, she'd probably had my baby brother, one of my brothers, and my sister. And I know now that she was struggling mentally. And as we had that conversation, I remember one night that we were on a bridge in Chicago. Don't know why, I didn't know what. But as I got older, I remember asking my mom. Well, that particular night, my mom was going to commit suicide. She was going to jump off the bridge with us. And I didn't know. I was just out there. And thank God she didn't do that. So as we continued to grow, my mom would take us to these drug houses in Chicago. And it was like zombies, man. Let me tell you. People shooting up. And what she did was scared me out of ever wanting to do drugs. And my sister, one of the oldest girls, her father, he was a big drug dealer in Chicago. He was in the family. And it was just what we saw. It was something we're accustomed to. And finally, we moved down to Arkansas. We moved to a farm. And, man, that was a whole different world.
It's way different than Chicago.
Yeah, it was. I was on the train coming back, the Amtrak or whatever, and we saw cows and chickens. And we get to this small town in North Little Rock, McAlmont, and here are people walking around barefoot. You got cows, you got dirt rock roads. I'm like, what in the world is this? Right? And then waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and my granddaddy, Ben Jones, he was like, if you're going to live here, you're going to work. Everybody had to work. And, I thought this was kind of exciting. And so doing that for a while, feeding chickens, taking slop. And let me tell you something. After seeing what we fed these hogs and then having to slaughter these hogs, I was like, I never wanted to eat a sausage again. I was like, gross. It was grossed out. So as I continued to grow, eventually my mom moved away. We moved to other areas in the city. And at that time, there was a lot of gang infiltration coming down to the south in the mid-'80s. A lot of gang coming down. A lot of drugs was moving through Little Rock. And Little Rock was, for those who know, it was like the central hub for transportation. Because you got the I-40 coming through, then you got the I-30 going down south, going down to Texas. So it was nothing for major drug busts to happen in Little Rock during those years. And then that's when crack started being very prevalent in the black community, started coming down. And one of the major reasons we moved down from Chicago was to avoid the gangs. And my uncle, he was a gang member. He was a black gangster disciple. And so obviously I looked up to my uncle. So I was like, yeah, that's my uncle, Then a few more of my uncles just affiliated. It was just something that I was surrounded with. And as I grew older, I started wondering what was going on. I was missing something, And yes, my mom was in a relationship with someone, but I had never met my father, didn't know who he was, and my mom really never spoke about him. So there was that feeling of wanting to belong. I'm missing something. I just
Mhm.
wanted to find what was missing with me, and I didn't know it then, but as an adult, I know now. So around about 11, I know we went back to Chicago, and it was some little shorties. First, you want to be a part of this, you got to do something. And the first thing we had to do, we had to steal a car. So about 11, 12, stole my first car. Pretty cool. I thought it was at the time. And then we moved back. Well, I came back down to Chicago toward the end of the summer. And this is when I was jumped into a gang. I was jumped in into the Disciples. And from that point, it was like a brotherhood. It was like, man, it just felt invincible because no matter what I did, no matter what I said, my boys, they had our back. And that's why I was introduced into selling drugs. And that kept going. So I smoking weed, drinking, but I knew I had to do all this before I came home to my mom. Because it's like my mom had the nose of, man, she could smell anything from miles away, right? And and during the course of all this, she was still having babies, right? So she was a young mom. So you figure here I am. I was born at 16 when she was 16, and now I'm 13. So she's still in her 20s, right? Almost,
Right.
right? Still in her 20s. And so I'm doing these things thinking, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do because I saw it in the family. And as it goes through getting in trouble in school, to be honest, I was really actually active in school things because it was people that was telling me, hey, kid, you need to be doing this. You don't need to be around, right? So in the midst of all that chaos and all that storm, there was still some sunshine that was getting to me that was saying this. But, I didn't want to listen to all that, really. So I kept doing what I was doing. And finally, it came to the moment where it dawned on me, I don't need to be doing this no more. It was a 16-year-old girl, white Caucasian female, was in the community in the hood. And, I had some drugs on me, and I didn't know who she was. Uh, but I remember the day she walked up to me. She said, hey, you got something? At this time, I was probably like 17 or whatnot. I didn't think nothing about it, right? I said, yeah, here you go. And I walked down the street and I started seeing like my sister, and I was like, man, I just gave this 60-year-old kid some drugs, right? It didn't dawn on me. And then I saw her again, then I saw her again. But there was actually people taking advantage of this young girl. And I was like, man, I don't want to do this. I felt horrible about it. And then there was another instance where we had got into a fight with a rival gang in Little Rock, the Bloods. And they found out where I lived. And they shot up my mom's house. And thank God my mom wasn't there. I was there. And that was one instant. And then the next time, the final one was when I was at home and somebody walked in. I was on the phone trying to be Mac Daddy, whatever. My back was facing the door. And I just got hit across the head. Like, what the hell was that? And I turned around. There was a big chrome 357 in my face. And the guy said, give up, give it all up. So I knew what he was there for. So got the drugs, got the money. Then he left. And of course, I didn't know who it was at the time. But word got out that, this particular person did that. And the next day, the Navy recruiter had called, right? It's crazy because here it is, this white guy calling landline, right, at the time. So we were there. Hey, this is Chris. May I speak with? I'm like, who? You call me by my first and last name. And
Was
I
it a
said,
cold
no.
call or you?
It was a cold call.
Okay.
It's just called like recruiters typically do. I was like, no, I don't know him. He ain't here. Click hung up with the phone. I'm like, oh man, I'm thinking it's the police. And so when I did find out who did that, just so happened I went back home to get my gun, and my mom was there. And she said, son, whatever you're about to do, please don't do it. Just don't do it. Whatever you're about to do, don't do it. I was like, Mom, don't worry about it. She said, son, whatever you're about to do, please don't do it. And she held me up. She talked to me. She prayed. And my boys like, hey, bro, we going without you. Do whatever they have to do. And eventually, they retaliated back. I just wasn't there. And that Navy recruiter called again the following day. After that, I hung up again. The third time he called, I answered. I told him. I asked who he was. He was, I'm with the Navy. I said, oh, okay. The Navy. This is Chris. I was just thinking that you want to join. I didn't realize I took the ASVAB in school. And I said, okay, whatever. Cool. Went down there, we talked, and he told me some good things about Australia. I always wanted to go to Australia. I was in first grade at an elementary school. It was a predominantly white elementary school. And I remember seeing Australia on the pictures. We had the old, what do they call them, the slots they were showing photo days.
Oh, yeah, the photo decks.
Yeah. And so that teacher told me that, no, you can't do that. You can never go to Australia, right? So I never forgot that. You know, we were doing career day, and I remember I wanted to do sales. No, that's not a job for you. She told me I can only do construction, you know. So I never forgot that. So when this recruiter was talking to me about all this, I'm like, yeah, Australia, cool, you got me. He knew it. He knew he had me. But I ended up joining the Navy. I didn't tell people.
How old were you then?
I was actually 8. I had just turned 20, actually.
Okay.
I had just turned 20 in 95. And I didn't really tell a lot of people. But I joined in April. I was out in May. You know, he got me out. I was hoping to leave after the summer. He was like, you know what? He told me some foolish stuff. But I'm glad he got me out of there before the summer, because at that time in the 90s, it was, as a young black male, we were considered endangered species because there was so much gang activity, so much drugs, so much shooting. You were lucky to make it to 20.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 24 years of age was the life expectancy for a young black male during that time. And I was teetering on that. I was right there. Let me tell you, I was right there. I don't have to get into all the details, but I was right there. So I left, joined the Navy, and 24 years, 9 months, and 1 day later, I retired.
Oh.
And it was definitely, as I look back on that, you know, I didn't have my father. I didn't meet him until 2 years into the Navy. But as I became more mature, more responsible, I look back on it. Why did I join those gangs? Why did I do these things? Because I didn't have that male guidance. I didn't have that male role model. Granted, I had males in the family who would talk to me, but I knew I was missing something, a part of me that nobody else could have given me. And that was knowing who my father, at least knowing who my father was, to see what am I like? What is the family like? You know?
So, I mean, and that's to your story, but just an assessment, being in the world, knowing the gang, I guess, philosophy, culture, and seeing what we have now with our young folk, violent social networks. What do you think is the influence, both positively and negatively, to either, I guess, persuade these young folks to gang activity, or what would be the best approach to kind of steer them away from it? Everyone's not going to run into a military recruiter or have a mom that keeps them from going out that late night and doing something stupid that they pay for the rest of their lives. What intervention is possible for us?
Well, let's go back to the reason why, as you asked, why how could a child get steered to that direction? It was the glamour, the drugs, the money, because again, going back to the 90s, loud music, big rims, nice cars, old school cars, dunks, as you want to say, and money, and the girls. That's what it was. So when you see the ballers walking around with this stuff or driving around, he's like, man, I want that. And here I am. I'm in a large family. I'm struggling working at McDonald's. Yeah, I'm mowing yards and doing this thing, but I'm just not getting what they want to as quick as they're getting it. So that's enticing to a young man, you know, a young black male on a lower socioeconomic side of the house, right? And so even today, it hasn't changed. It's still the same thing. And they see this, right? And then to compound it, no male role model. On the opposite side, that may be consistent, that's showing them, say, hey, I get it. That lifestyle, it's fancy, it's nice. But look, let's see where this ends up, right? Nobody was telling us, taking us to the prisons, saying, hey, this is what he did for 20 years or 15 years, and now this is where he is. And at that time,
that's
going
when
to
Scared
prison,
Straight was popular.
Going to jail was like a rite of passage. Oh, we're going to do 10, 15 years, cool, whatever. And guess who's down there with you? The same cats from the same neighborhood. So, okay, that's it. And now, I think with technology, kids just find a different way to do the things. It's the same thing, but they just find a different way to get there. And what do the gangs now have to offer? I truly believe it's easier to make money doing drugs now than it was then. You know why? Technology. You don't have to have drugs on you. You can do a financial exchange through Cash App. And next thing you know, somebody put, okay, your drugs over there.
But to that point, if in essentially what you're saying is you can conduct business and have transactions without even having contact with one another, but then why the need for the violence? Because if you don't have to cross paths, just short of, and we're not talking about having to fight over territory per se, so then why does the violence have to accompany?
Look at it like this. Okay, you sell drugs. Well, for somebody like myself, if I know who you are and you don't have a name on the streets, I'm probably going to do something to you, right? Well, guess what? If you affiliated with a gang, with a group of people, it's like you're protected. So if I would try to do something like that to you, guess what? I got somebody to back me, right? So it's that protection. It's that belonging. That's what it is. So they know if one person here comes at me the wrong way, disrespectful, well, I ain't got to worry about just me. It's my boys with me. I'm not going to disrespect my boy like that. I don't care who you are, whatever, right? So that's what it is.
Okay, so then let's say I understand it on that level. But then you go home at night to a house full of siblings and mother that have nothing to do with the game, but they're the ones most at risk. So then how do you get past the understanding that they know where you live or they come attack your home and your mother and siblings have nothing to do and may not be afforded the same protection because they're not affiliated? So how do you rationalize putting them at risk for the sake of namesake on the street or, having the money's earnings earned from drug sales or whatever other acts of criminality that occur? How do you make that okay?
That's a good question. You don't. It's not a rationalization because you don't think about that. It's about you now. At 16, going through the stage, you're not thinking about the consequences of your actions.
That's fair.
You're thinking about what I can get and what I can get to provide for that family. Because any drug dealer can rationalize why they're doing what they're doing, right? Money, I got to take care of my family. Okay, well, there's somebody else doing the same thing, but they're doing it illegally. Well, I got bills now. I got to take care of this. I got to take care of this now. We're going to always rationalize our behavior. However, we're not thinking about the consequences of how what we're doing is going to impact somebody else.
Right.
Like I'm saying, I didn't think about the fact that somebody would come and shoot my mom's house up. It wasn't until I started getting deeper and deeper, that's when it became the realization that, man, it's going to happen. Because now I'm out here selling drugs and everybody knows. They know what I'm doing. They know that I'm out here getting this money. And they know the status that I'm claiming. Because now I got a car, got a nice car, got some girls. And I'm saying some girls because that's what we do. We get money, we get status. What do men typically, young boys typically put on that? Girls, right? Because nothing caps it off outside of money than having women around you.
Right. I mean, and to some, and this might be, I guess, controversial, but some say, though, that, I guess, ideology or that thought process also is influenced by media, the type of music, the glorification of, being a violent person, a drug dealer, or having money earned in an illegal manner. There are some people, by way of their choice of entertainment, think that is a glorified way to exist and pursue that. So some would say then if we had more control over what our kids are viewing in media, social media, or entertainment media, that might help curb some of that, I guess, glorification of that type of lifestyle. Because where else are they getting it? They see it on the corners or they see it on their phones and television.
Well, look at it like this. All the drug kingpins, all those guys, a lot of those guys were not black. They didn't listen. They listened to Beethoven. They listened to Latin music, this nice dancing, right?
Okay.
In the 70s, it was mostly a lot of R&B music, right? Well, they were still selling drugs, right? They weren't influenced by Curtis Blow. They weren't influenced by the what's the Hilltop. They were not influenced by them, were they?
Good point.
No. It's not so much the music that's influencing the kids. It's what they're seeing in front of them in their neighborhoods that's influencing them, right? Because nobody from Japan is influencing the kids here to do bad things. You and I have a direct connection when we're close. There are some things that you'll do as a man that a young boy will see. You want to imitate because we're looking for that image, right? And all the music does is make what's going on that's not good glorify. Like, oh, yeah, that's really good. It's, you get that euphoric feeling. Like, it's got to be good. They're talking about it, right? But what's not happening, again, is they're not seeing the end result of it.
Right.
Or if they're seeing the end result, oh, man, he got locked up. Man, that's wrong, They're justifying why he ain't do nothing wrong, not realizing that this drug that you're using is killing. It's equating to death of others. I didn't think about that until that 16-year-old child, right? That, and for me, I found that using life, there are 3 incidents that happen that go, if I've seen this, putting you toward change. You gotta see the signs of them, right? And now those are those 3 things that I mentioned earlier. I was like, I can't be doing this because I heard my mom praying in a room one night, just praying, crying, and it's like, man, that was probably really just like I really thought about it. I said, nah, forget it, whatever. And I ended up getting in a shootout, and I'm getting a gun put in my head. And you would think that would be enough.
Exactly.
But yeah, we got it. But I was hyped. Felt invincible. And that's what young men are thinking. I didn't get it this time, but yeah, let's go do it. Let's get it back. And like you said, now it's just a different type of influence because again, where's the community? Our community is saying that we don't snitch. I didn't think it was nothing then, right? But now I'm thinking like, I got kids, I got a house, who is it? Who did this? Who did this to this child, right? I want to know. But we've developed this sense of, we don't want to snitch when it's to our detriment.
And maybe the definition of snitch needs a better explanation. Because my interpretation always was, if you and I do something, I get caught, you don't, they need your name, and I give it, then I'm snitching. Yeah. If I'm standing on the block and I see somebody riding down the road and do something to a kid or snatch up somebody's baby, and I tell the police who that person is, that's not snitching.
No,
because I would expect the same if it occurred with somebody I love. But, coming from you, it might give it validation if you want to go further to describe the differences between snitching and just whatever else they call it.
Chief, you're on the right path. You're on the right path with that, and that's true. However, it curved over to, the bad guy in the community, nobody should be talking because the bad guy is actually doing things for the community.
Like what?
I'm buying food. I'm giving away turkeys. Shouldn't I, right? I'm giving away turkeys. I'm doing things for Mother's Day. I'm bringing all these mothers together. I'm buying people.
Those are the TV bad guys.
Because
in the neighborhoods I've been in, they're not bringing anything but extra violence, shootouts in the middle of the street, and random homes and cars getting struck by gunfire.
Let's go back to Denzel Washington's character.
Character. Go ahead.
Right? What did he do in the community?
In the Carters, the projects, I remember specifically.
What did they?
He brought food and money and all those things.
So they put him up there. We got to protect this person because he's doing stuff nobody else is doing, right?
Right.
So why would they tell on him? If he killed somebody, okay, he just killed another drug dealer that was selling drugs. Nobody cares. Nobody going to say nothing.
in that example, okay, I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
But here's the harsh part of it. When some innocent person that's not involved in it,
That
life
part.
is taken or destroyed. Now the struggle is, do I inform the officers or do I say nothing? Because now this person had nothing to do with that. Why should this person die?
Right.
And now that's where it is that nobody wants to snitch, because now there's going to be retaliation. And that's what resulted, and that's where it is today.
That would be a better philosophy if these young folk running around shooting everything up stood for something, which I'll be bold enough to say they don't. There's no code of honor or anything of that sort. When you're running up and down and there's all this collateral damage and other people are placed at risk for nothing, for absolutely nothing, it just boggles my mind that there's no, I guess, community response to help us do what we need to do to make their communities safer. So I don't know. I just can't wrap my head around that.
So here's if we're going into that direction with what came to the police. As I shared when we were just having some dialogue, growing up, I saw black officers being the over-aggressive, the overbearing. There was a few Caucasian officers too, but I saw predominantly undercover black officers who were coming to the communities, who were being over-aggressive, who were shooting young black men. This is what I saw. And so when I step out of that and I look back on it, man, what could the community have done? And I feel like the community could have been more aggressive or more assertive at pointing these officers out, right? However, look at a lot of these officers at that time. They were from the surrounding communities, so we kind of knew them. So that's Miss Peterson's son, such and such. Don't know. That guy doesn't matter. This guy. Well, I get it. The guy may have been a drug dealer, but did he deserve to die the way he did? And he never actually, from what I know, a lot that happened, a lot of these drug dealers didn't have any criminal backgrounds. They were just selling drugs. They had no criminal background, but they died horribly at the hands of black officers. So, to me,
there was no trust between the community and the police.
It wasn't there. And then if I was to leave my community, go to another surrounding community where it was predominantly white, it was almost as if we knew what's going to happen if you get caught out there. So, bro, get out there and get back. We already knew. We didn't trust the white officers out there. However, as I grew, matured, and understood, there were a lot of good officers. I didn't understand that the 10% bad, because I started seeing there were officers, hey, stop. I remember hearing, stop, that's enough, go, we got it, right? And they were white officers. There were black officers, right? But that's because I started paying attention, and joining the Navy allowed me to see things from another perspective. It allowed me to educate myself. It allowed me to grow out of the hate, the stereotype, the bias that I had toward police, or even in my own family.
And it also took you out of a more violent community.
It really did. And discipline, I grew a lot of discipline, because my first couple of years, I was getting in trouble, and that's when I met my father. And he was a former Marine. And I think at that time in my life, I needed him the most, because dealing with the racism in the Navy, it was rough in the 90s. It was, like 95, 96, 97. And I needed him as a young man at that time, probably the most in my life, because he allowed me to be able to grow the relationship, to accept the relationship first, talk about the past, and move forward. But I needed that guidance from him, from his perspective, being a former military person, to tell me how things work. Do this, don't look at this. And it took a minute to follow it, but I started doing that. And the more we communicated, the better my behavior became, the less aggressive and angry I was. Because a lot of my anger was a result of not having my father in my life. And I can see that these young men today, if there's not a father in their life, there's anger. There's anger. They may be dealing with a lot of emotional anger because they got a mom in the house who may be dealing with a lot of emotions. And an emotional man is not a good thing, especially when there's anger built up. That's, I attribute that sometimes to my brother, right? And I get that from my mom, right? But I see that in a lot of young men whose father's not in their life, or they have a horrible relationship with their father. Their father's in and out, not consistent. Mm-hmm. And typically in these young men, you see inconsistent behavior, right? Lack of commitment. Oftentimes this is what I'm witnessing, what I'm seeing. And when they go into that gang, well, that behavior changes to now I got somebody to look up to now. Because this leader in the gang is holding them accountable to doing certain things. So they develop some good behavioral traits.
Structure, organization.
I'm saying good in a very negative sense.
Before it's just disrupted behavior that is, I guess, unchanneled. And unchecked, but then in a quote-unquote, and I use this very loosely, structure of a gang or violent social network, if there's a structured, organized
they fall in line.
There's a hierarchy.
It's a hierarchy. And you start seeing leadership in these kids, like, wow, kids do this? Because now even though I was...
Strange, but I see it.
I laugh at this. But when we played football in the 8th, 9th grade, I would say half of the football players were gang members. Good, right? We did some things. We wanted to show off, play sports. At that era, if you played sports, it was like, oh, you the man, It was about getting notoriety at the time. It was. And to see that in the young kids now, when they go in that direction, you'll see traits develop. You'll see that leadership develop. And leadership is leadership. Whether you Adolf Hitler or George Bush, whoever, leadership is leadership. And leadership is about getting results, right? Whether you use it in a negative way or positive way. And leaders get results. So guess what? Even if you're in a gang, the whole premise is, hey, we need results. We need something that's going to keep us going, that's going to give us an edge. And what does the gang leader do? He pep talks those young soldiers. Hey, we need this. You're going to be all right. I got your back. What do you need? Well, my mom, hey, here's some money. Go take care of your mom. It's like that father that they never had who's helping them out. So they develop that sense of loyalty. I would say not to the gang, but to that person, really. Look, the young kid, Yaya, in Chicago, when he shot into the crowd, right? That was his initiation, and I knew it. We all knew it. Mm-hmm. However, it wasn't intended for that young girl to die. That's why they went and assassinated him. Mm-hmm. I knew they was going to do it. I said, man, that kid's not going to survive that.
Interesting how that works. So he has more loyalty to them than they have to him.
Exactly. And we don't know this. See, we don't know this because it's a self-serving process, right?
My point exactly.
You know what you want to get out of me. I just want to get mentoring. I want to get some closeness to this man, somebody, a father figure. And we're looking for that. But we think that's what it is. In hindsight, it's not that. It's we're using you.
Manipulation. Yeah.
Manipulation.
So then with all that being said, what does a community or a law enforcement organization do to interrupt the cycle, intervene, and give someone another course?
Man.
Because you make it sound real grim.
No, I'm just going through the process in my mind. It's really find out who the elders are. Find the elders in the community because the elders know everybody. And do it from an approach to build because the uniform itself already sets separation. You, us, right? Mm-hmm. Which is why I started enjoying the plainclothes officers coming out. So it was a different perspective. So when they started doing that, it was more welcoming. It was more invited. It wasn't so official. They came in, cargo, shirt. We knew they were officers, but they didn't look officer, police. And they started coming out, and they started little leagues. They played some sports together, right? And it created like, oh, okay, this is normal people, right? And that started going, and conversations started developing, and the elders started talking more, and before you know it, it was dialogue. It was about, hey, well, how can we keep the community safe? And it was the people in the community start bringing this, and they started developing these hotlines. I remember when the hotlines came out reporting drugs, because when I went off to the Navy and came back out 7 years, it was like, whoa, that's what it was. That's what it was. We set up these community centers to where kids could have more activities. It started investing into the community to keep the kids active, to not allow the gangs to get to them first. And of course, things like Big Brother, Big Sister, I saw start coming up. So for the most part, it's engaging with the people first.
Okay.
Right? Going to the people first.
Very good. All right, so I'm going to change lanes real quick.
All right.
So you have your own business called Strong Arm Training Academy. And if you could just tell us what made you decide to get into firearm safety, and what type of safety training do you offer?
Well, what really made me get into it is go back to my time in the gang. I did something really stupid. I look back on it now. Just showboating in front of a girl. I had a Tech 9, fully loaded. At the time, I called it clip, but magazine. And I put it on safe. And we was talking. I went around to the passenger side of this girl that I liked. I was like, girl, I'll blow your head off if I didn't know you. And I pressed the trigger, right? It didn't go off. So I took the gun back. Stop playing. And then when I had looked at the gun, there was a round in that chamber. And I keep thinking like, damn, man, that could happen. Because that just happened weeks prior. Somebody did that. So I thought about that for a long time. Then I got in the Navy, started doing firearms training and instructor and all these things. And as I got ready to retire, my plan was really to go into project management. 'Cause I did construction in the Navy, I'm 6 figures, so it's on, right? But going through life, my mental challenges, divorce, custody, I wanted to stay close to my children. I joined the National African American Gun Association. Okay, this is cool. And then they said, well, there's a chapter here? No. Well, I can create one, right? Said, all right. And then I was at the lawnmower shop, of all places, in Virginia Beach, right? And there was this young black woman. She was in there. And we got on the subject of guns. And I was like, yeah, I'm with NAGA, National African American Gun Association. Oh, yeah, you have a gun? Yeah, she got a gun. So she showed her gun, purple and pink. Never forget. And I asked her, well, when the last time you shot it? Oh, I haven't shot it. Oh, okay. Well, when the last time you been to the range? Oh, I haven't been to the range. All right. Well, when the last time you fired a gun? Oh, I ain't never fired a gun. Really? I said, well, what are you going to do if somebody tries to touch? Oh, I'm just going to show it. I was like, really? So, I was getting on the path, right? But when she told me that, I started thinking like, wow, this is not good. And I did a little Tula drill demonstration with her. Ran up to her real quick. She couldn't get a gun out. Right? Excuse me. And that right there put me on a whole different trajectory. I said, okay, I had more of a purpose then at that moment. And then when I started doing the studies that was in 2020, I started seeing that more black women had been purchasing firearms, single black women, than any during that 2 years leading up into COVID. And I'm like, wow, there was like 6 million new firearm purchases, and about 86% were women. And out of the 86%, there were like 73% black women. I'm like, wow. And then come to find out, a lot of these women, they wanted training, but they had these firearms for like 1 to 2 years. And I would ask those who had them, why? Well, I didn't feel comfortable. Or when I bought the gun, the guy just sold me a gun and I didn't know what to do. And they was afraid. So I created a goal to say, hey, I want to train 1,000 women, trying to get to that point. So I started doing that. And before I started my chapter at the time, I had to come up with a name, right? And I didn't know what the heck I was going to call it. And I used to read this book called Think Big, Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, How to Think Big and Grow Rich. And he said, you want to know the answer to something, ask yourself a question. And I kept doing it. One morning I woke up to go work out. I was doing curls. And I thought, ooh, strong arms. Yeah, okay, right? So that, and I'd say, okay, I think that'll work. And I was watching Joel Osteen's, as I was going through my mental struggles. And I needed a slogan. And I heard him just say things about, being strong in your convictions and arm the word of God and just being ready for the enemy. And after a while, all I could hear was stay strong, stay armed, stay ready. That's what I heard. And I just added that slogan to my name, and I went with it from there. And now I do it because I truly want to impact the community in a safe way and no longer have any of these incidents where children get a hold of firearms. We even this year, especially, God bless that mother who lost her child because she left a firearm under the sofa, which is 100% preventable. And I'm not judging her, but that's why I'm doing what I do, because I want to educate the community, and especially the black community, because this is where so much of this is happening. With the young black kid in Suffolk, gun to the head, shoots himself, right? The young kid in Norfolk and Newport News taking guns to school, shooting a teacher, or the father who leaves his gun in the child's bag and the child shoots the mother in the head. That's in a black community. And it's just, man, it's heartbreaking to know that this is happening and I have a skill and to not do nothing about it.
Got it. Yep.
I'm not going to be that person. So I offer these free gun classes to the community to say, come in, we'll do a class. Just take the time and learn. That's it. Take the time and learn. Get educated. We're all ignorant in certain areas, many areas, but we can get educated.
And how would somebody reach out to you for the classes that you offer, and what city do you provide them in?
They can reach out to me several ways. They can call me at 757-803-1440, or they can go to strongarmsgunclub.com. That website is kicking now. It's working now.
He's got a commercial voice. You saw how he did that?
And also, I'm out in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
I'm located near Lynn Haven Parkway Mall on South Lynn Haven Road in the Junior Market. And we're out there, and I'm putting on these classes. I have classes typically every weekend or sometime during the afternoons. But if there are organizations that want to reach out to me, come to the school, talk to the kids, I would love to. I love talking to kids, because once kids learn this, I see these, Mr. PT, safe finger, safe direction. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, because they learned it, and the parents were with them. I do the gun safety class with the parents. I want the parents there, because usually the parents don't know. And when they learn together, they get more credibility with the kids. The kids see, hey, mom was there too, so what mom or dad is saying is legit.
Good. Well, that'll wrap us up. We ran a little long today, but it's all good. Thank everyone for joining us on this episode of Unveiled, and thank Joel Jones for sharing with the listeners what I believe is an important topic. Be sure to join us next time as we continue to shed light on the Hampton Police Division and the extraordinary individuals who serve and protect. Thank you again, Mr. Jones.
Hey, thank you, Chief.
All right.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Unveiled, a podcast that highlights the extraordinary men and women of the Hampton Police Division. To learn more about the Hampton Police Division, check us out on social media and on our website at www.hampton.gov/police.